Hey guys, this is Substitute Topher filling in for the Topher today. And today we're driving one of my personal cars. This is my 2000 BMW 323i E46 sedan. And you may be wondering, well, what's so special about that? Well, take a look at this odometer. This car's got 364,000 miles on it. How is this thing still running? Well, I purchased this car from one of my good friends that lives down in Illinois. He runs a European car repair shop called Kauth & Meyer, and one of his long-time customers traded this car into him on a new car that he was selling. And of course, I was the first person that he thought of to purchase this thing. So let's go ahead and do a walk around and take a look at what I bought. So here it is, pretty standard E46 stuff. It's a sedan, it's silver, but we do have the sport package. So we have these slightly different 16-inch wheels. We've got the black sport seats on the interior. Look how clear these headlights are for having almost 400,000 miles. Got a little boo-boo here on the bumper, but nothing really to worry about. This car is full of blemishes and things that you'd expect for a car with nearly 400,000 miles on it. The side skirt, that's held on with self-tapping screws. I didn't do that, that's how it came. Sort of assumed that the rust on top is what caused that, but we'll just gloss over that for now. Plus 5 horsepower, I did add that. It's the only modification I've done to the car so far. This being a pre-facelift E46, actually this is the second model year of this car since it came out in '99. This is a 2000, so we don't have the updated taillights. We just have the very simple amber on red design there. Little bump here in the back, nothing to worry about. Figured it was a good time to break this car out since we've got all of this snow. And I'm not too worried about this car rotting out even more than it already has. I've actually owned this thing for about 8 months, but being here on the Topher, having 2 new cars every month, it's been a little bit difficult to fit this car into the schedule to film. But I'm glad that I have time to finally do that today for you all. I don't think I've ever sat back here. Well, I've got a decent amount of room. This is adjusted for 5'11", which is my height. My knees touch the back of the seat. My GoPro is hitting the headliner, but that's because it's an E46 and the headliner is sagging slightly. Seats are actually in pretty good shape. We've got a little tear right there, but up front, the interior is not in too bad of shape. This is how I play music in this car. If you own a car from the early 2000s, you know all about that little device. Oh, one thing I wanted to show while I was back here. This needs to go on the car. Sean, if you're watching, I'll put it on after I film this video. I have all the maintenance records from this car, and they add up to over $20,000 in maintenance that this car has had. And I think that's pretty cool, you know, that probably explains why this thing is still running. Super, super cool, and I'm excited to take you guys out on the road in this car. Now, don't think for a second that this car is perfect. Yes, it's had a lot of maintenance done, but it's still an early 2000s BMW. It's still got almost 400,000 miles on it, so it's certainly not perfect. The check engine light is on, but the previous owner graciously left me a little piece of black tape, so I don't have to look at it. So I thought that was pretty nice of him. Had a couple of problems early on with the car. It was doing some misfirey things and whatnot, but we got that sorted, and today it seems to be running just fine. The radio, yes, I've got that turned off because the knob, no matter which direction you turn it, makes the radio go full blast, and that could explain why the rear speakers were blown out when I got the car, but I replaced those with some Harman Kardon units that I found at the junkyard. So that works. Luckily, we have these radio controls on the steering wheel that I can use instead of the knob, so we're all good there. Climate control seems to work just fine. This car is fitted with the 5-speed manual transmission, which is nice. I probably would not have purchased it if it was an automatic. I'm not sure I would have trusted an automatic with almost 400,000 miles on it. Well, what do we got up front? We've got these really nice black sport seats with the crumb collector. That's actually pretty clean. Look at that. How about my side? Oh, we've got some crumbs on my side. We've got this interesting CD changer control, which is hiding our hazard switch and the door locks button. Thought I was going crazy one day because I couldn't find where the door lock button was. It's under the aftermarket JVC CD changer. This doesn't work. That one does work, but only after you hit it about 20 times, so we're not going to touch that today. Come on, okay. Seatbelt's a little bit finicky sometimes. All right, well, without further ado, why don't we take this thing out on the road, and you guys can see what it's like to drive an almost 400,000 mile E46. Comment below if you own an E46 with more miles than mine, because I would be very shocked to see if anyone had one. Right, so right off the bat, the first thing I noticed, and I was warned of this before I bought the car, there is a very alarming clunk in the back of the car when you put the clutch in and when you change gears. Now, with E46s, and if you know about E46s, they're notorious for the rear subframe sort of rotting out and disappearing. And I haven't been under this car yet, for one, because I'm a little bit scared that I'm gonna find more things that are rusty under this car than I want to, and also because I just don't really want to know the state of the rear subframe. I'm just gonna drive the car and just kind of see what happens. And just hope for the best. But anyways, besides the rear subframe issues, this E46 323i is powered by a 2.5 liter inline six that from the factory made 175 horsepower. Well, 364,000 miles later, I think it's down to about 75 horsepower. It's very slow. I'll demonstrate that once I go around this roundabout here. This is flat out. 55. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic about how slow it is, but I would say this thing's not pushing any more than like 95 horsepower to the rear wheels. But what more can you ask for? It's a 400,000 mile 21-year-old car, so we're not mad at it for that. Just going down the road, I mean, other than the car obviously needing an alignment, it's not too bad. You know, it doesn't sort of sway around the lanes or anything. It rides smoothly. I've got a brand new set of Michelin all-season tires that came on the car, which are probably worth more than the entire car, so that's excellent. All four of the power windows work, and they're up right now, so I'm not going to test that theory, but just trust me that they all work. The sunroof I haven't tested because I have a phobia. I don't think phobia is the right word. I have a fear of, on old cars, when you open the sunroof, they won't then shut again, so I haven't tried that, but it probably works because everything else in here seems to work. Heated seats, those work, but they get so hot that they're unbearable. Also, all three settings do the exact same thing. It's been interesting being able to own this car because I also own a 2003 Lexus IS300 with a 5-speed manual, so I've kind of somewhat been able to compare the cars, even though this one has double the miles of that one and it's not in quite as good of shape. Obviously the Lexus feels quite a bit more solid, but I'm not sure that's too fair of a comparison, being the mileage and condition of this car. I really love the sport steering wheel on this car, and I've been told that this is quite a rare steering wheel over here in America. I know all of you chaps over in Europe had them on your BMWs for quite a while, but we didn't have these for very long. These were only put on for around about 2 or 3 model years over here. So that makes it pretty cool. This was the steering wheel that you got with the Sport Pack on this car, and of course we have that, the different wheels, the sport seats, and this steering wheel. So I'm pretty excited. This was like the sporting E46 back in 2000. If you gloss over the 330i, I don't think, was the M3 out yet in 2000? I don't know that it was. Though this is the 323i, so this is like absolute bottom of the barrel as far as power goes, because there was the 323i, the 325i, the 328i, the 330i, and the M3. So this was the slowest. There, of course, wasn't a 4-cylinder variant of the E46 in America, so we got the just super, super underpowered inline 6, which is what this car has. and they badged it as the 323, even though it's still a 2.5 liter. It just makes less power than the 325i. Of course, it was the cheaper alternative. Yeah, I don't know if I have a turn signal bulb out or what. It blinks 3 times really fast, and then it goes to normal. I don't understand. And it doesn't do that all the time either. It's just, you know, a nice little quirk of this high mileage car. Speaking of quirks, there are a couple of things drivability-wise that feel a little bit tired. For one, the accelerator pedal feels like you're pushing down on a bunch of chewing gum because it's extremely stiff and sticky. I think that's a common problem with E46s. You really got to get into the gas pedal to get it to go anywhere. In fact, I pretty much just floor it everywhere I'm going. It doesn't have enough power to make a scene when you floor it anyways, so that's all right. But it did take some getting used to, because with this being a manual car, you really have to get into the gas to get it going off the line. The clutch itself, well, it feels all right. This car's probably on its 3rd or 4th clutch at this point, so I don't know, the clutch feels okay. It doesn't release right at the bottom of the floor. Releases right about mid-range. Feels pretty normal. Cruising at 60 miles an hour, I do have a slight vibration, but it's nothing really alarming. You can see the steering wheel modulating a little bit, but it's okay. The actual shifter itself, well, we've got a little bit of play down here, rolling in 5th gear, but they're not to the point where it's like 5 neutrals where you just have no idea what gear you're going into. Being a BMW though, the shift knob just kind of does that. So you always have to be careful when you're downshifting from 5th to 4th or from 3rd to 2nd that you don't pull the shift knob off. But I've gotten used to that, so I haven't done that in quite a while. Overall steering feel, it's okay. As you can see, I've got quite a bit of body roll going on, and I don't necessarily trust that this suspension is super new and fresh. But the steering feel is not terrible. I've driven cars that have been much worse. So as far as that goes, not super bad. If you were clicking on this expecting to see a just total train wreck of an E46, unfortunately, I can't really provide that. But I want to talk about something with these older, early 2000s BMWs. This is from around the era where BMW's lineup was just excellent. And if you watch Hoovie's Garage, you'll know that he owns the whole Holy Trinity, or whatever he's calling it. The E38 7 Series, the E39 5 Series, the Z8, the Z3, the E46. All of BMW's models back in the day during this era. Absolute gold. Fantastic. In my opinion, the E38 is the best looking 7 Series BMW's ever made. But these cars are notorious for just being terrible and breaking down all the time. They've got very fragile cooling systems. They've got, as I said, the rear subframe issues. If you have the V8, the timing chain guides are a nightmare. But I think a car like this with 364,000 miles, I trust it more than a car with 164,000 miles, or one with 110,000 miles, one that's just kind of been driven. You know, this car's been driven and driven and driven and driven and maintained. I've got $20,000 worth of maintenance receipts back there. This car's so dialed in at this point that I think that I trust it more than one that's just been driven a normal amount. So that's part of the reason I bought it as well. Yes. It's good to rev a BMW out, blow all that carbon out, and make sure that it's still running smoothly. And the power delivery on this thing is super, super smooth. I mean, what more can you ask for in a cheap winter beater slash hilariously high mileage car? And though I know I went over all of those sort of typical issues that BMWs from this era have, but this car is a testament to the quality of these early 2000s BMWs and how they will continue to go if you just take care of them. I mean, look at the state of the steering wheel. It's not even ripped or torn or faded anywhere. Sure, it's shiny from you know, hand oils, which is disgusting, but it's shiny from hand oils being on it, and sure, the buttons are a little bit worn. But look at how well this interior is held up. My driver's seat's not even ripped. The passenger seat looks fantastic. The dashboard's in good shape. All of the wood trim. All of the buttons on the climate control work. The key fob works. I can lock and unlock the car with the fob. Sure, the radio volume knob, that's a little bit weird, but I have another way to control it, so I'm not super worried about it. Let's see if these people know how to use roundabouts. Ooh! Traction control? Okay. Excellent. I used to own an E90 BMW, a 2007, with about 105,000 miles on it. And that car was way worse than this one. All of its vent tabs were broken off and none of the vents worked. It idled like crap. It leaked oil. I should go as far as saying that this car doesn't really leak anything. I've been storing it in my garage, my warehouse, that if you watch Daily Motor, you'll have seen that. I share it with Charlie. Apart from the rear differential and subframe leaving me a sort of spice mix, which is hard to explain, I'll just insert a video, some B-roll of that right now. This car didn't really leak anything. It left a couple drips of oil, but it didn't leak nearly as much as my E90 used to leak. You just gotta maintain them, guys. You gotta maintain these cars, and they'll be really nice to you. Who doesn't love the sound of a BMW inline 6? This car is so quiet. I'm just waiting for the exhaust to rust off, because presumably the whole underside of the car is just made of hopes and dreams. So mechanical handbrake up. Listen to the early 2000s dashboard make all sorts of weird noises as you shut it off. Yep. Finicky seatbelt off. Thank you. I love the look of these early BMW keys. So cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming along on the drive of my beautiful E46. I hope we get to feature this car a little bit more on the channel. Comment below what you want to see on it. I don't really plan on getting rid of it. I don't really see the purpose of getting rid of it because it's just here. I definitely think I want to get the Topher's take on this car. Let's open up the hood. I can show you that. Some of the trim is missing because we were putting new coils in, but here you go. Here's under the hood of a 400,000 mile E46. All right, guys. Well, that's going to end it for us today. Hope you've enjoyed watching. I've enjoyed taking you on this little journey with me. Stay tuned to see more on this car. I don't really know what we'll have on it. Maybe some snow driving or something like that. But as for now, that's going to be it. This has been Substitute Topher filling in for the Topher today, and we'll see you very soon in the next video.